Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host Kaustubha Das from the Bhakti Center in New York City. Welcome to our show. We are here with Mara, our executive producer. Mara fields all these people that are here live. There's a whole bunch of people here live this morning. How many people we got? 102 live on Zoom. And we have our reach is getting big. Our reach is getting big, Prabhu. We're out to like 5.
Relatively.
Well, yeah, I guess it's all relative, but you know, I'm inspired. Truthfully, what's really inspiring is seeing the same people back every day. Because it means there is some type of attachment that's going on. We become what we repeatedly do, right? We become what we repeatedly do.
All right.
Therefore, excellence is not a state of being, it's a practice. Our whole life is just sort of a practice. Our spiritual life is not just me calling myself spiritual. It's a regular showing up. And then all of a sudden we become that. That becomes us. Our habits become us. And so it's easy to fall into sort of a groove, and you can't get out of that groove with our diet, with some little sort of pastime, some innocent, so-called innocent pastime. And then after a while, that just becomes what I am. So I'm having this appreciation for the people who are just showing up on a regular basis and listening, because after a while, and you don't even realize it, but you start speaking like the Bhagavatam speaks. And it's quite impressive.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I want.
Sorry.
What's going on there, Mara? Hold on a second. Somehow you got muted there. There we go.
Oh.
Say that again, Prabhu.
I said I wanted to give a shout out to Chewy Canella. I don't know if she's here this morning, but
she is.
She is. She did that. We talked about the musk deer and how it runs around the forest. Did you see that drawing she did?
Oh, she drew that. I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty talented.
Yeah. We'll share that on the Patreon today. People can see it if they haven't. It
is. The Patreon thing is going out of control. If the as far as everybody just supporting this. By the way, if you're new to this is a community supported podcast, and we really appreciate you guys coming forward. It really encourages us to go forward with what we're doing. If you like it, you can contribute whatever you can. This is patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And we have a whole community of people chatting it up all day. You know what? People are going to chat. People are going to chat. Chatters will chat. So why not chat about spiritual things? That's what I like. You know?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you want to say something about that chatting? Go ahead.
I was just about to say, hold your thought, because your thoughts are important.
I got it right there.
What we're trying to do, and with what a culture of a spiritual culture or a community or a sangha is trying to do, is raise the bar of what we chat about. Raise the bar of what, of what we do. Raise the bar of our recreation. You're still going to have recreation. You're still going to have chatting. You're still going to have music. You're still going to have food. Raise the bar. Because there's people we get around with who are lowering the bar. Culture itself is lowering the bar. And next thing you know, I just become a product of culture. So it's hard, because culture is like a current. It's like a riptide. And you got to start to really focus on what you want to become. And this is like the concept of reincarnation within this life. So back to your thought.
Well, no, but I want to continue with your thought. So what you're saying is there are paths of yoga where like they say, you know what, stop all the chatting, right? This chatting just takes us in different directions. Stop the chatting. And if I understand what you're saying is we don't need to stop the chatting. We just need to make sure that we're chatting about the right stuff. And so on that Patreon, when you join Patreon, it connects you to this Discord, all these chat channels that we have. And, the different Wisdom of the Sages listeners are there and they're chatting away, but it's like uplifting chatting, you know. And you're muted, Raghunath. You look bewildered. You don't know what's there. You go.
Sorry.
Merit is taking over.
No.
It's just like she's in control over there.
She's slowly trying to weed me out of here. No, Merit got no ill intention.
But I wanted to mention, I posted last night a talk I gave, an introduction to yoga philosophy it was like me speaking to these students from Hunter, I think it's Hunter College, not Hunter University, but that we did kind of over Zoom. So that's up there now.
How do you get all these gigs, Hunter College?
You know who that comes to?
Who?
Lori. You know, Lori, who was your very first asana teacher.
Oh, yeah. Well, my first asana teacher, but
so
yeah.
she teaches at Hunter University. She teaches at Hunter University, and she brings me in there maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a year, something like that.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
You sound a little quiet to me, Rogo. I don't know if that's me or you, but I just want to make sure you're loud enough.
All right.
Sound okay?
How's that? How's that? Okay.
Right.
Let's dive in, sir.
Yeah.
So we are 21. We're about to get into these. The ladies of Dwarka, right, are going to give these prayers.
No, these are not the ladies of Dwarka. These are the ladies of Hastinapura.
Oh, the ladies have Hastinapur because Krishna is leaving Hastinapur.
Yeah, this chapter is Krishna's leaving Hastinapur, and the next chapter is Krishna's entering into Dwarka. So we get to hear from the locals in both chapters.
Interesting, huh? The ladies, you know what's cool about India? These are all holy cities.
They go way back.
You know, Hastinapur. These go ways back. Delhi. This is Delhi.
Yeah, it was the capital then. It's the capital now.
Yeah, and you can go to these places today. It's amazing. Dwarka. You can go to Dwarka today.
Yeah, although the original one may be underwater.
Yeah, the original one's underwater, but I think part of it's sort of chipped off. I got a cat coming here. Come on, cat, back off. Okay, let's dive in here. So we start with these prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. You know, this is our sadhana. I always get my great inspirations during some prayers. Instead of focusing on the prayers, some other thought drops into my brain. Ever do that? You're chanting japa, you're trying to hear, and all of a sudden, create this thing, do this thing, read this thing. I give the credit to the Maha Mantra, but I know I'm supposed to keep my focus.
Well, they say if that happens, you can write it down quick, and then you feel like, okay, I wrote it down. Now I can get back.
I do that. I write it down quick. I keep a little notebook sometimes when I chant, so I don't get distracted. But just now, I was distracted by
what a brilliant idea did you come up with?
It was just that everybody on Zoom, due to the attachment to the Bhagavatam, they've created a sadhana, whether they even know it or not. They just do it on a regular basis. And your sadhana becomes you. And if you want to change you, especially for the better, Sega's nodding his head. If you want to change you for the better, you increase your sadhana. And your sadhana starts to inform everything. It informs what you do on your downtime. It informs what you eat. It informs what you joke about. You know, what you joke about, what you eat, what your hobbies are, how you react to your family members or your loved ones. It's so powerful.
It's said that we need to dedicate like certain time exclusively to our spiritual practice, like certain hours of the day exclusively, right? I'm not mixing it with anything else. I'm focused.
Yeah.
And then certain days of the month, it's ideal if there's certain days where you just take the day off. Today, I'm dedicating it to my spiritual practice.
Sorry, I can't come in today. I'm dedicating it to my spiritual practice. But you're a school teacher. You're an essential worker at the hospital.
Come on, there's weekends,
Spiritual
there's
day.
holidays, there's
Yes.
you know, like that. And then ideally,
Holidays,
now
holidays, holy days, holy days.
And now this one may be tougher, but certain months of the year, right? So certain hours of the day, certain days of the month.
I'm not coming in this month. It's a holy month. It's a holy month. Sorry.
Well, that's your vacation.
Part of my religion. It's part of my religion.
And I'm going to sue you if you don't allow me to do it. And then certain years of our life.
Well, isn't it interesting? Certain years of our life. I'm taking the year off. Well, that's what retirement is. See, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. Oh yeah, and sabbaticals. Well, this is interesting because our holidays, our holy days, aren't even holy. President's Day. How many people are just like, let's go into deep prayer for all the presidents? I mean, we're talking about American holidays, but no one cares about no one's turning them into holidays. They're just sort of like days where I don't do anything. Often, sometimes they could be even more material than our regular days. They're just sort of a break from the grind, but they're not holy days. You still see this in India because they still follow these holy days. And because this is funny. We get Christmas, right? In the West, we get Christmas off, but because there's so many different avatars of Vishnu, there's so many holy days, right? Ram's appearance, Krishna's appearance, the Sringa's appearance. And it goes on.
Saints.
All the saints' appearances day. And the saints disappear. This is when they died. This is when they were born.
Double it up.
Double it up. But and I think we celebrate a lot of them. You hang in India for a while, they're celebrating the new moon, the full moon, 3 days before the new moon, the 11th day of the moon. It's just like we're taking off for the full moon. All right, okay. I don't even know how anything gets done in India. And then you know how we have a leap year here? There's a leap. They have a leap month. Yeah. They have, because it's a lunar calendar. So every 4 years there's what's the leap month called again?
Purushottamas.
Purushottamas.
The month for Purushottama, the supreme person. Yeah.
So you take 1 month off every 4 years and you go to a holy place. And Vrindavan gets packed.
Yeah.
During Purusha. Everyone's doing prikrama or bowing down at Govardhan Hill. It's like a whole thing. They just, all the Delhi Walis, they're just closing up shop. They're coming. Aravind coming around.
Arvind's there.
Closing up shop. I don't know what he's doing in Delhi, but he's here doing prikrama in Vrindavan.
Yeah, so that hours of the day, at least that we should figure out a way to do. Days of the month, we should figure that out too. Months of the year, we got to, if we can't take the whole month off exclusively, we got to increase. And that's that Kartik month,
Yeah.
We could do that in the fall, especially. And then years of one's life. And, I was speaking to Vaisheshika Prabhu yesterday. And, some of you here may know who he is, but he's, in my mind, just an exceptional Bhakti-yogi. And we were talking about like how this COVID thing has kind of taken a lot of Bhakti-yogis and now they're doing stuff online. And he was kind of joking around. It's like so many of us have the same story. He's like, yeah, I used to be a monk and now I'm doing this. He's like, there's all these ex-monks out there, And I was thinking, but you know what it is that almost everyone should do that. Like, before college or after college, you take a year or two,
I tell my kids, that's just be a monk for a year. Yeah. Try it. Why not? It's fun.
Even like the Mormons.
It was fun. Right? The Mormons do it. The Mormons
not exactly a monk, but they
go out and proselytize. That's a bad word to say, but
yeah, but they take
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. They're just going out and they're giving the information out.
I'll dedicate this year or two to God before I take up before I get married and get into business or whatever it is. I'm going to dedicate some years. And I think if people can do that, and then again, you could maybe do that after work, or if you do have some kind of ability to take a year off of work or something like that.
But everybody listening to Zoom right now is like already in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah. So then they're thinking about, okay, now still hours of the day, days of the month.
I'm just looking at Mara and I'm thinking, Mara, take a year off. Come on. Your chefing can wait.
She's doing it right now.
Yeah, but she's just walking around her house preaching to the windows,
Still,
preaching to the plants.
okay. But in any case, your point was that by tuning into wisdom of the sages every day, it becomes a regular sadhana. Every day I dedicate this hour. I'm hearing Bhagavatam. It's powerful. It takes effect.
Mm.
All right, let's do it then.
Yeah, and it was a good time. It wasn't like, oh, all right, I got to do a year of this religious stuff. Truthfully, it was the best years of my life. So fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it
right?
was. Yeah,
I enjoyed it like anything.
me too.
Martine asked the question, which we might as well ask today. And this is a good question because sometimes why did you stop? And she said, excuse me if this is too personal. Why did you stop being a monk?
All right, let's do that on question and answer day.
Okay. Saturday's question and answer day. And Sunday, Raghunath Swami, special guest on interview day.
Right.
Okay.
8 a.m. Eastern time,
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. We hope to see y'all there. Tell your friends.
Okay.
Post it up. Not you, Kaustubha, but everybody else.
I'll tell my friends too.
Okay. I covered up got too many pages. They said,
let's say we're in Canto 1.
Talk us back. I'm sorry. Canto 1, Chapter 10, Text 21.
They means
They means
Hastinapura.
The ladies of Hastinapura. They said, here he is, the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. It's pretty interesting, huh? The whole concept of the universe is manifest, and then the entire universe, just like your body, becomes unmanifest.
Cycles.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting here? Now, I read Prabhupada's commentary. I also read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. I haven't read other commentaries, but neither of them mention this, but it seems to me like it's definitely something that's happening here. Is that in the previous verse, I really love the last verse that we read yesterday, and I'll read it again. It said, absorbed in thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. And then this is the sense, this talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Okay, so it's like their talk their hearts are so much in the right place that when they're talking about Krishna, they're talking about God. But it's entirely pure, and it's so satisfying. It's more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. But then the very next verse is they're speaking now. And what they say, they start to speak about how he existed before creation. And that reminds me of the Purusha Shukta prayers, which is probably the most famous hymn of the Vedas, right?
Right.
So it seems to me like there's a connection there. And I see it in other places than Bhagavatam too. Are you familiar at all with the Purusha Shukta prayers?
I mean, I'm familiar that they're chanted by the demigods to praise Lord Vishnu before the demigods meet Lord Vishnu. But they're one of those things that whenever there's a ceremony, all the Brahmins are chanting these prayers.
Exactly.
They're beautiful.
Yes, Purusha, Sahasraksha, it's like that Vedic chanting. It's powerful stuff.
I don't know any of them.
I don't either. I don't know that. Like we know Brahma Samhita, which is chanted, kind of in a somewhat similar mood. In any case, but the Purusha Shukta prayers are about how Lord Vishnu exists before everything, and they're prayers. You could say they're in that Shanta Rasa, so in the mood of of reverence and awe for God,
right.
And they're beautiful though. They're really beautiful, and so here this subject matter is the same. That here he is, the original personality of God, as we definitely remember. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. And so let's read this commentary, and it's going to discuss a bit about the Purusha avatars, how Lord Vishnu manifests in this world and it sets off creation and destruction.
This is actually super important. And for any other reason, hold on, just let me read it. Yeah. Okay. There are two types of dissolution of the manifested cosmos. At the end of every 4,320,000,000.
Can we get that again?
4,320,000,000 solar years, when Brahma, the Lord of one particular universe, goes to sleep, there is one annihilation. So the day in the life of Brahma, and he goes to sleep. Brahma's a being. Brahma's a being. Yeah, Brahma's a being. So when he goes to sleep at night, that's the end of the whole universe. And then when he wakes up, a universe is manifest. That's one particular annihilation. And at the end of Lord Brahma's life, which takes place at the end of Brahma's 100 years of age. So they say that every being lives 100. A tree lives 100 years. An ant lives 100 years. A mayfly lives 100 years. We live approximately 100 years. But within that, but it's all sort of, how we say like, yeah, my dog is 81 in human, in dog years. So it's like that. They have this calculation, but it's according to the particular species. Yeah. So Lord Brahma lives 100 years, but these years are so vast. And we just talked about one of his days. So if he's living, there's approximately 365 days. And we explained it was 4,320,000,000 solar years. Because let me just finish this calculation to fully like minimize our existence. Yeah. 8,640,000,000 times 30, right? 30 days times 12 times 100 solar years. Yeah. It's complete annihilation of the entire universe.
Well, you see, what happened is that when it says that 4,320,000,000 solar years is his day, but that means it's like 12 hours. So then you got to double that to get his night. And that's one like whole day, 1 24-hour period in a sense. So then that becomes 8,640,000,000, multiply it by 30 for a month, multiply it by 12 because there's 12 months, multiply that by 100 years. And
this is one of those hidden benefits of like a spiritual paths in general is you start to see yourself. Actually, you said this to me. I'm stealing your stuff.
Steal it.
We start to see ourselves in a much grander narrative of our existence. First of all, we see ourselves as Raghunath the yoga teacher, Raghunath this guy from upstate New York, Raghunath this family man. We start to see that as like sort of a speck in this massive picture. And it's not to make us feel less than, but what it does, it puts my issues, my problems, my worries in proportion with something much bigger. And that's what's great when you sort of zoom out of this, the day and look at eternal time. And it can sort of minimize our fears, and our worries, and my big issues. And this is actually quite beautiful to see, oh, wow. This too shall pass. Look at my life, my such an important life. This is why I love graveyards. It's sort of, it's right. It's a zoom out. It's a zooming out of our big life and realizing, oh, I'm going to be laying here too one day.
So that's perspective. That's a change of perspective. Right? Yeah. Like I'm walking around in my day and I think this is everything and everything going on is really important. And then I sit down and I read the Bhagavatam and I think about it. And I let, because it's throwing out this number. It sounds almost ridiculous to even mention, right?
I know. It's a real number.
It's a real number.
I mean, like bees live for 2 weeks, or flies or moths.
Yeah.
But it's a full life. It's a full life for a bee.
It's a full lifespan. And so we're thinking that our troubles, for instance, we're making mountains out of molehills and little things appear very big to us. We're meant to read Bhagavatam, contemplate this kind of thing, and shrink those mountains right back down into tiny little molehills again so that we can focus on what's important. and that's that example of the crane is used sometimes, right?
Crane?
Yes. The crane one, don't you know the
You
crane
tell
one?
me. You tell me.
It said, the question is, this is a story from South Indian Bhakti tradition, about this one disciple of a guru who's in Sri Rangam. You've never been to Sri Rangam, right? You got to go there.
Never been to Sri Rangam.
And he asked his guru, what is a Vaishnava? What is a real Vaishnava like? What are their qualities? And he says, for that, you need to go to this other teacher, and he will tell you. He's the most qualified person to answer that question for you. So I think he has to go to Kanchipuram, which is, months of walking through the jungles or whatever to get there, So he walks, and then he meets that guru, and he says, my guru sent me, from Sri Rangam. I've walked all the way. I have a question for you. And the guru says, that's fine, but right now I need you to do this. And he starts to engage him in service. And the disciple that walked all that way, he was patient. He's like, I can't just tell the guy, no, but hey, I got a question. So, no, he was like, he had the,
there's no question day every Saturday. You just type it in.
And he
You
had
got to
walked
walk
all the
for
way.
months. You got to walk for
Yeah.
months. Where's Martine? You got to walk for months, Martine. You want to ask a question. You walk to upstate New York from Boston, and then we'll start answering your questions.
All right. So, but yeah, and that wasn't his mood. He wasn't like, hey, come on, man, I walked all this way. You can't answer my question. I got to get back. So he just started, and it said that months passed. I think like 6 months passed, and he just served. He just kind of became like a servant in the guru's ashram and did what he was told. And then one day there was like a big festival, and he was asked to serve out the food. And that's a whole, something we should talk about someday too, right? The whole etiquette and the culture behind serving out like a big feast, how much you can learn from that, right? The attitude and everything.
All of spiritual life is contained in the serve out of a feast.
Yeah, I tell you. And he had that, he was serving out. And when you serve, you're not worried about eating yourself. You're ready to serve it all out, even if I don't get any. He was like that. And then after he had served so selflessly, then that guru said, you had a question, right? This is like 6 months later. And he said, yes, could you please tell me, what are the true qualities of a Vaishnava? What are the true qualities of a Bhakti-yogi? And he said, the qualities are that he's like a rooster, that he's like salt, that he's like a crane, and that he's like you. And then he just walked off,
Left them with that riddle.
Yeah, I left him with that riddle. He's like, well, but, I walked all this way. I waited all this time. I don't understand what it means. So then he took that, but, with faith, okay, this is what he's given me, right? I'll accept it gratefully. And then he walked back. And so then he went back to his home, in Sri Rangam. And then his guru, when he saw his guru, he said, oh, welcome back. And did you meet this guru? Yes, I met him. Did you ask your question? I asked my question. What was the answer? He said, well, he gave me this answer. I don't know what to make of it. It was like, he said that like a Vaishnava is like, he's like salt, and he's like a rooster, and he's like a crane, and he's like me. I don't know. And his guru is like, oh, yes. What a, he hit the nail on the head. What a profound answer. And he's like, could you explain it to me? And he's like, yes, I can explain it. So he said, it's like a rooster. And if I hope I'm getting it all right. And
I hope you are too, because you're deep in this right now.
I'm deep. I'm committed now. So he says it's like a rooster, because, I think what the roosters do is like, sometimes, they eat seeds,
They eat worms, they eat bugs.
Yeah, but also those seeds, sometimes, like seeds pass through you,
Yes.
Right? And so then they end up, you pass them out, but the roosters will go and peck away at that to get the seed out. So even in some place that's very filthy, or, they can take something good from something not so good. Let's put it that way, right?
Okay.
And we should be able to do that. Even if it's someone that's like not so deeply spiritual, someone poorly behaved, but a wise person, a Vaishnava, can see what they just said is very true. I should take that, I should take that to heart. So like a rooster, they can take something good out of some place that's not so good. Okay.
Okay.
That's the first one.
Okay. Got that.
And then salt is a really good one, because salt is this, it's like a spice, but it's not that spice that gets all the attention, but it's so essential, right? So like if you eat a meal, someone might say, oh, wow, the subtle, saffron in this is, giving it such a nice flavor, or, this spice or that spice, it's really making it delicious. But nobody ever says, oh, the salt in this is so good.
Right.
Salt takes no credit, but without salt, it's not good at all. So it's like totally essential. It's doing its service. It's doing what it needs to do, but taking no credit and allowing others to take all the other credit. So think about that one, right?
That's a good one. That's a good one for me.
What an important instruction. And then, like a crane. So this is the one that we were talking about. And this relates to what we we're just talking about Brahma's years and the perspective change and making mountains out of molehills. We need to have a change of perspective so that we don't take these little insignificant things, let our minds become completely absorbed in them. Oh, someone said something about me or something like that. We get all caught up in this stuff when it's so insignificant in terms of reality. So he said a crane. You know how cranes, they stand on one leg in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do. I was wondering why. You have an answer for that? Why
this
are
has
they
nothing to
standing
do
on
with
legs?
why they're on one leg.
Okay.
But they stand on one leg like that, and they're looking down the water, and they're fishing, right? They're looking for a fish to eat. And they let one little fish go by, another little fish go by. They're letting 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30 little fish go by. They're waiting.
Patience. Is that what the crane is?
Well, it's patient, but even more patient. Then when the big fish comes, it goes down and it gets it, right?
Okay.
So this is the point. We shouldn't get caught up on all the little insignificant things in life.
But we should go fishing.
No. You almost got it there, but you went a little off course.
This is the problem when the disciple hears the story wrong.
All right. But we need to focus on the important things, and we need to let go of the unimportant things.
There we go.
Okay, so that's what the Vaishnava is like. We're not, and I, one time, I may have shared this on the show before, but one time I was speaking with Raghunath Swami. He tells this story in his book, The Journey Within. Highly recommended, The Journey Within by Raghunath Swami. If you want a really good introduction to Bhakti-yoga, excellent book to read. It came
out. I always recommend it as when people ask, what should I read first? I say Journey Home. Read Journey Home first, then read Journey Within second. They're just good intro. They're just a good intro books to spiritual life, and they're easy to digest. And I think in this age, we need easy to digest. Yeah. Because the brain
profound at the same time.
Profound.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were discussing some topics about some issues about difficulties about this and that, and then he said to me, we just need to be like that crane, we just focus on the big fish, let the little stuff go. And then he thought to himself, and he just said, and the only big fish is Radha and Krishna. Ultimately the only, it's like, what really matters is how we're connecting to God, and that will play out in how we connect with the rest of the world. So there was the rooster.
I want to add on to this one.
Yeah.
It's very easy in my life to get so distracted by little fish. And I think the culture that we've created, the distraction culture, the multitasking culture, the apps, the almost addictively checking apps on a regular, it's so little fish. And it can really take us away from our bigger fish in life, our spiritual path. There's a lot of minutia to get absorbed in. And that's why the lockdown time of our morning sadhana, no matter what happens in the course of the day, I said, you know what? I heard the Bhagavatam today. You know what? I chanted some japa today. You know what? I did my puja, or what else you do for your regular practice. These are like, it's not urgent that you have your sadhana today. Like, it's not like they're going to, we're going to take away your car. You didn't do your sadhana. But it's one of those important things that in 5 years from now, it'll make such a difference. Yeah,
it adds up.
I've been trying to really sit with my kids and just sing in the nighttime. Because I was like, and it's so many things can happen in the nighttime. We get distracted. I was like, let's just put 10 minutes aside and sing. I said, and my thing yesterday was like, in 30 years from now, we'll be happy that we did this time. We put in this time in the evening. We wound. I'm really getting, I know there's a lot of pain and suffering with the pandemic. It's really helping me just become grounded and hit a reset. No, I'm being straightforward. It's helped me in every facet of my life and my family and my relationship and my diet. Yeah.
And you're like, my God, like I'm freaking out here,
I did freak out. Oh, don't worry. Freak out is coming.
Okay.
There's definitely plenty of room to freak out.
No,
and if you all you essential workers who are like doing backflips for the benefit of everybody, forgive me for feeling grounded right now, because I understand that you guys are going through hell on earth right now.
That's important to remember. But at the same time, what I'm highlighting right now is whatever it was a month and a half ago or something like that. We started getting into this, and we had hopes, and we're talking about it. Well, let's make the best of this. Let's use this as something that we can grow out of. And look at it, Raghu. You're growing out of it, huh?
Well, I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, Kaustubha.
We all are.
I'm a work in progress. But but even still, when you have a type of lockdown, and upstate New York has been a little lousy outside. The weather's been lousy. There's also a call, because a lot of little fish can also come in the course of the day when you've got nothing to do. When you're on a schedule, right? When you're on a schedule, it's easy not to get caught in those little fish. I have things to do today. Here's my plan. Here's my scheme. I thought it up last night. But downtime is when you really got to watch out for those little fish. If you came in late to our analogy, little fish means the minutia of the day, the distractions of the day. So anyway, that's a great analogy. By the way, everyone wants to know, what's that last one you said?
Yeah.
A Vaishnava or a spiritualist is like me. The rooster?
Yeah. Like a rooster, like
salt,
like the crane.
Like the crane, and like me. And like you.
Like you. The
like
guru
you.
said. So like the protagonist of the story. I believe what it was like because he was so patient and served so selflessly, right? He'd come all that way, and then you would expect, here's my question, thank you for the answer, and I'm going to go. He waited. And then he served with complete selflessness. He had faith, that I'll get the answer to my question, but really he was patient and served others. I believe that's what it is. And so there you go. Rooster, salt, crane, and you. Something to meditate on, huh?
It's really nice. I'm just reflecting back, and especially with all the people on Zoom, but like some people on this Zoom thing have been here before we did Wisdom of the Sages, when we were just doing Super Soul Sacred Sangha. And so that means basically we've been having this Bhagavatam in our life, in our day, working as like an internal GPS for us for 2 years now.
Not 2 years, or 1 year.
1 year. No, well, a year and a half. Because
not even, because
it's hard to believe that Wisdom of the Sages is only 4 months old.
It started like about March last year, something like that, right? So it's just over a year.
Over a year. But I mean, it's hard to believe Wisdom of the Sages is only 4 months old. January, February, March, April.
Well,
4 months.
We've done 101 of them. That may be what it feels like.
100 days in. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got a little cocky with how many classes we've done.
No, I mean, it's fun.
Okay. So anyway, back to this verse, and the verse commentary, or the purport is the commentary. It puts our big issues in such perspective. And I think that's a real benefit of a spiritual path, is it gets us out of the mind and of my worries and all of my stuff that's going on. Big deal. Big deal. And if we look back 10 years in our life about all the issues we were going through, sometimes you find an old notebook and you're like, oh man, I remember when I was going through that, an old journal. I remember when I was going through that. And it's like nothing now. Mm-hmm. My biggest issues today, 10 years from now, are like they're all gone.
You know what, Raghu? The way that you're thinking right now, that's called wisdom, right? Like that's called wisdom. Being able to realize that as you're living it, right? That I might be able to look back 10 years from now and say, oh my God, it's gone. But if I'm living now and in this moment, I can realize that in 10 years, all the things that I think are important right now are also going to be gone.
Yeah.
Then I have wisdom, and that grants me the ability to focus on what's important, really transform.
You know what I think are useful things in a regular household is pictures, photographs of family. Sometimes your grandparents, sometimes your children when they're little babies. Photographs, you check in with a time in history. And it's not just for sentimental reasons like, oh, the good old days, oh, they were so cute. Not just that, but it's say, oh, I get it. Time is moving. You don't see it, but it's moving. Oh, there's my parents when they just got married. Now my mom's 93. My father passed away. It starts, they were young too. They were in love. They were teenagers too. You just see life and death and age in perspective, and it gets you a little wise.
Well, you see, Raghu, it's interesting that you say that, because when I hear you say that, I'm saying, well, you know what? A lot of people would look at those pictures and get lost in nostalgia. You understand? Like, I'm looking at those pictures and I'm just trying to relive that life, the dream within the dream. Going back to something that no longer exists, and in my mind, trying to live in that place, trying to suck some enjoyment out of what used to be. That's called nostalgia in a sense. Right.
Nostalgia. We're living in the past, like, the good old days. And
yeah, like I want to enjoy those moments. So I bathe my mind in the past, in a photograph may help me do that. But what you were describing was the way that a wise person looks at that same photograph. Two people will look at it, and it'll affect their consciousness in different ways. The less developed person will try to live. We're already living in one sense in a dream, and I want to go deep because this dream isn't satisfying. I want to go into the dream within the dream and relive the past in my mind.
Of the romance of it.
The romance.
Wisdom does puncture the romance of existence.
Not that. Well, hold it. That's a tattoo right there.
That's a tattoo. I'm ready for.
Okay. Say that again.
Wisdom punctures the romance of material existence.
Okay, I like that. And so, the wise person looks at the same photograph, and what they're looking at is like, see how this whole thing is a phantasmagoria. It's shifting and changing. And that which seems so real is gone.
Another Bhagavatam word, phantasmagoria. Probably would never say that word in my existence if it wasn't for the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Phantasmagoria.
I've never heard anybody ever say that word except for the Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Did you ever read books before?
No, I
didn't either.
No, I've never heard that word. Have you heard that word, phantasmagoria? I've never heard it.
I'm sure I'd heard it. I'm sure you had heard it too, but we probably didn't use it very often.
Oh, there's Christina says that there's a Damned album called Phantasmagoria. I didn't know that.
Is there? Must have been one of the later ones.
And Sega said he heard it in movies. All right, forget it. I stand corrected. I live in a box, people. Come on. I live in a tiny little box where there's only like 12 words spoken. Okay.
Let's keep going.
Okay, this is good stuff, though. The Lord exists. Yeah, so anyway, Kaustubha's wonderful point, to the degree that we hear wisdom, or hear knowledge, rather, as we walk through life, we're not going to get caught up in the romance bubbles, that we get lost in these diversions that lead us towards those dead-end lanes that we walk for miles and miles and realize this isn't going anywhere. Puncture it. Puncture the romance of the material world with wisdom. Should I read the purport or go on? Because we're getting. It's good stuff.
Keep going. Keep reading. This is great stuff.
This is big stuff. All right, let's just jump to the next paragraph. What do you say?
Sure.
The material creation is affected by the interaction of the three gunas, the three modes of material nature, set in action by the Lord. So these are the energies that dominate the material world. And therefore, it is said here that the Lord existed before the three modes of nature were set in motion. In the Shruti mantra, it is said that only Lord Vishnu.
The old Vedic texts.
The old Vedic texts that were just spoken. Oh, no, they're just heard.
The Vedas and the Upanishads.
Yeah. The Shruti mantra said that only Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, existed before creation, and there was no Brahma. So all those, however old that Brahma is, we just did that mathematical calculation. It's before Brahma.
Yeah.
Before
he's even born.
Yeah. Before creation, there was no Brahma, no Shiva or other demigods. Vishnu means the Mahavishnu, who is lying in the causal ocean.
Mm-hmm.
By his breathing only, all the universes are generated in seeds and gradually develop into gigantic forms of innumerable planets. So coming from his breathing, is like, you can't make this up. Coming from his breathing are universes and planets. Coming from my breathing are viruses. They never tell Lord Vishnu to cough into his arm. They always just say, breathe, Lord Vishnu, manifest beautiful universes, right?
But his breathing is also, I believe that's referring to through the pores of his skin with each breath.
Yeah,
right?
It's also emanating from his entire body.
Yeah.
Universes. You don't want to know it's just emanating from my body. Just various stenches and...
But each one is a little universe in itself.
A stench, yes. My stench universe. Welcome. The material creation. You know what I've realized listening to Wisdom of the Sages?
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about my laugh.
Come on.
You know, I'm listening while driving my car. You know, is that narcissistic to listen to your own podcast?
Not narcissistic, but your laugh is great. Don't worry about it. Let it go.
I don't know. I'm driving
you.
like, why do I laugh like that? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Hearing your own voice. Does that ever drive you insane?
I think everybody has that practically to some degree or not. Most people.
Okay. The material creation is affected by the interaction of the three gunas or the modes of nature set in action by the Lord. And therefore it is said here that the Lord existed. Okay, I already read that. Vishnu means Mahavishnu. I already read that. By his breathing, only all the universes are generated in seeds and gradually develop into gigantic forms with innumerable planets within each and every universe. The seeds of the universes develop into gigantic forms in the way of seeds of a banyan tree develop into numberless banyan trees.
You know what I believe that Prabhupada's...
It's like a circle and a circle and a circle. It's a Fibonacci spiral.
I don't know what a Fibonacci spiral is.
All right,
but
can someone YouTube a Fibonacci spiral, please? It's like a shell that goes on forever.
Okay.
Each one is like perfectly. It goes on. It's ever see these pictures? They go. It's like a sacred geometry. Someone's got to pull that up. Give Kaustubha a link so we can look at it.
Okay, but I think I know what you're saying. And in other words, it's like that macro micro thing that these things exist on levels of on smaller and smaller and smaller levels.
Yeah.
So
it's like the earth is like your body. It's like 70% water. It's like your body is like a giant planet. And then the planet is part of a giant solar system. And that solar system is like a giant multiverse.
Okay, you're breaking out all the terminology, but yeah.
It's a multiverse.
So in this verse, Lord Vishnu or Krishna these ladies are on the rooftops and they're saying, this Krishna, he's Lord Vishnu. He existed before all the creation in this universe. And he is the Atmani. And that means he's like, just like there's an Atma within, or an Atmani within our body, like there's the soul. And our soul spreads its consciousness throughout the body. And this is like the fundamentals of yoga philosophy, right? That a body is just a collection of matter. It's prakriti. It's unconscious matter. But there's a soul within that body called an Atma. And the Atma makes the body come alive. And then the Atma spreads its consciousness throughout the entire body. And the Atma has the ability to control the body. So it's said in the Upanishads that it uses this poetic language, within the cave of the heart, there's the Atma. And the yogis say that when the blood passes through the region of the heart, it carries consciousness with it through the bloodstream to the extremities of the body. And that's why you can feel your awareness spreads to your toes and to your fingertips and to the top of your head and so on. Wherever the blood's flowing, wherever the blood's not flowing, we're not aware, like in the nails or in the hair. Our consciousness doesn't extend that far. And so our consciousness is extending from the heart through the bloodstream to the entire body. And in a similar way, what's being said is this universe is a body And Lord Vishnu is the Atma. And his consciousness spreads throughout the entire universe. Right? So there's and what Prabhupada is saying here is like, he lies down on this ocean within the massive material realm, and from his breathing, from the pores of his skin, with one breath comes a universe that's like a seed, right? Come unlimited universes which are all like seeds, and those seeds, just like a tiny little, a banyan tree is this huge, massive tree, right? It's like
Takes up an entire city, can take up an entire city block, like in Calcutta. There's a massive one.
They're huge, and you look at it, you can't help but feel some awe for that massive tree. But it's coming within one tiny little seed. But that universe of that tree is sitting within that tiny seed. And so similarly, from the breathing of Lord Vishnu is coming these seed-like universes that he again enters into that seed, right? Into each universe. And he activates the modes of material nature, and from them grows the entire creation within a particular universe. And how many millions and millions of years is this taking? Well, he gave us the calculation. It's 8,640,000,000 times 30 times 12 times 100 is the time that'll take that many years for one breath for that seed to come out, fully develop, and then come back in, and then rest for the night, right? Rest for the same period of time.
And I thought I was so important.
And I thought it was so important, right? So that's meant to shift that perspective, help us understand. And also,
not that we don't have importance. We have importance, but it's relative. And our importance, our worth comes from our birth. We're spiritual beings. But this issue that I'm trying to scale right now, that's absorbing my mind, it's going to be gone in a moment. Sometimes a week, right? Sometimes a month, and sometimes a few years. And it's like, it's over. Sorry to butt you out.
No, that's great. There's that, and the other thing that I'm seeing, like what Prabhupada's doing, what this verse is helping us do, is, this is a far out creation story, right? Oh, this is your mythology. But my point is, any creation story is far out. And we don't have to get into all that right now because we just got a couple of minutes. But what I believe, and I think what the sages they show us a way to think where we look at nature and understand the clues are there in nature. We should be able to look at a banyan seed and see how it grows into a huge tree, and take that as a clue for the universe that we're living in, and that we're so small in it, we can't step back far enough to see it all, but Bhagavatam can give us that change of perspective. We spoke on Saturday, the question was asked about psychedelics and their value in terms of, spiritual life and spiritual realization. And the point that I made was they can provide a rapid perspective shift, but you don't know if that perspective shift is real or unreal or valuable or not. But Bhagavatam can give us that same perspective shift if we contemplate these things, not just read through it, but think about it. And it can provide us that powerful consciousness shift where we say, you know what, this aspect of my life is not all that significant. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get distracted by it. Focus on what's important. And that's like really solid perspective shift that can really energize our spiritual transformation.
There was a wise man that once said, really sort of paradigm shifting for me, said, don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. No, you don't worry.
Well, I believe that he heard it from another source. There were 3 little birds.
Haile Selassie. All right.
Ooh, there you go.
You like that? Wait a second.
Got through one verse today.
Did it? Is this thing on?
It's on. I hear it.
Oh, no, wait till this thing kicks in. Now it's going to boom it. Right. Okay, anyway, that's the end of our show. What is up with my closing? There we go. Thanks for everybody joining us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Who would think these things are such part of life now? But they are. Without Stitcher, what am I? Thanks, everybody. Hey, if you're listening to Apple Podcasts, write us a review. Give us a 5-star review. Come on, say something nice today. And everyone who wants to hang with us on Patreon, Thank you for support this community-supported show. It's appreciated. We look at everybody who's doing it. We read all the emails. You can email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail. We say Mara, but we read those too. I'm always peeking in those. And we love doing this, and we're grateful for all of you. Sunday is Radhanath Swami. Thanks to everybody who joined us on Zoom. If you want to join our little private Zoom party, we have about we have 108 right now. You couldn't plan that. I couldn't plan that if I wanted to. We have 108 people on Zoom right this moment. And thanks for everybody who joined late. And thanks to everybody who's undarkening your faces so I can see who you are. You've been living in the shadows your entire life. And now's the time where everybody starts dancing around. And now that I see them, I start to call them out particularly. But this music is meant to help us. It's actually quite fascinating. The whole Bhakti thing, music and dance helps you transcend your mind. Music, dance, and mantra. And lip syncing helps you transcend what's going on in your crazy mind. I want everybody to everybody on Zoom better unfreeze themselves because I want to see you. Good to see you, Yuda Steer, Dr. Michael Schwepp, Eric Noble G. Who else is here that I haven't seen yet? You see any? Oh, NASA from Ireland. She's our only Irish person on here. NASA, you got to tell some friends. You're the seed, NASA, of Ireland. That you got to spread the word to Ireland.
Jeeva's doing some crazy dance over there.
All right. Okay. I'm looking at the last page. This page is. You guys are no fun. I'm going to go to the earlier pages. See, if you're unfrozen, yes, then I see their whole body. Come on, Joey Valdez. You think I'm not watching you? I'm watching you. I'm calling you guys out. Brenda.